Burp. Why did I make the noise? Howdy, folks. Welcome to the PoliSciFiPod. I'm Kyle.
I'm Cody.
Yeah. We're going back on God, the scheduling on this is like nothing. like, it's just whenever we feel like getting to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever we miss each other, really, I guess. I don't know.
It's gotten weird.
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
I think when we initially started, we were like, oh, we're going to go down to twice a month because I think we did one every week for
Oh, we did
a
weekly
while there. Yeah.
Yeah, the first season, I think, or first 20, maybe 50 episodes or something like that, we did weekly. It was longer than we give it credit for, but I've been doing more writing. I started an
Yeah.
ill-advised side project, but yeah,
Isn't any side project just kind of ill-advised?
yeah. I like to
But,
say I'm good for not doing that, but I'm also terrible for doing that.
yeah.
But yeah, so I've just been working at that. This is sort of a callback to something we did way near the beginning of whether or not the we should redistribute the wealth of Scrooge McDuck. And this is like another episode of that series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I sent you the message, this was actually I think a few days before we got our world's first fucking
Oh
trillionaire
god.
at this
Yeah.
point in time. So I think arguably that the character that we're doing, which is Bruce Wayne's Batman, is technically less wealthy lore wise than Scrooge McDuck, but
Yeah.
still.
I don't know that they've ever called Scrooge McDuck a trillionaire or anything, or
Well,
Batman for that
okay.
matter. But
So the way that I look at it is that if anybody has enough liquid wealth to fill up uh
yeah,
a
Volt. Yeah,
gold bin that he can
money bin.
swim
Yeah,
in, then he's probably very wealthy. But I don't know
yeah,
the exact
yeah.
figures off the top of my head. Although I do believe Bruce Wayne is only technically classified as a billionaire. I think it's anywhere between 35 and $50 billion, which is like still an insane amount
Forbes
of
did a
money.
list at some point where they estimated all these people's wealth, but
Yeah, but like that's okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. How do you even do that math? I know
Yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah,
what's that even mean?
yeah. Like what is a Batmobile worth? Uh, I don't know. Like maybe you can sort of make a Batmobile in real life, not really. So like it's technology that doesn't have like you can't realistically value because we don't really have it. So
Oh, what do you okay?
yeah,
Dumb question.
no,
What is the physical capabilities of a Batmobile with like throughout the
um,
Batman lore? Because I tried to look up the other day because I was kind of curious whether or not there was like a definitional like bat tank in the Batman lore, or if that was just
they've done it. There's been like a bunch of Batmobiles.
yeah.
Like I think every artist sort of draws theirs a little differently. I've seen people like tries to categorize them,
Hmm.
but yeah, we generally I think the fans generally sort them by category. You got like ones that are like very much normal cars. You got ones that are very much tanks. Like in the Dark Knight Returns, they have like a one that's basically just a tank. Yeah, same with Dark Knight. Yeah, yeah, never know. But yeah, no, I mean all the Batmobiles are fairly different. There's been some that they're just generally cars that go fast and do have gadgets on them.
Yeah, but I was actually more so looking at like an actual tank, like an actual physical
Um,
tank, not like a Batmobile. Like maybe, hey, Bruce Wayne needs to blow apart some walls, but I guess like the closest thing that I can really think of is like the tumbler from the Dark Knight series.
the Dark Knight Returns comic has like a Batmobile that is a tank.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you feel like looking that up on your end, you can see what I mean. Like the Dark Knight Returns
Mm,
Batmobile, it's a tank. Like
okay.
that is on treads. It doesn't have like a main gun, but that's not necessarily. Yeah, it looks like an old. Yeah, it's just a big tank with like the bat face on front of it. Yeah, and he's had like he has tons of planes and jets, helicopters.
Oh, shit,
Um,
that's a legitimate tank.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like loaded with rubber bolts and shit.
Hmm.
But yeah, uh, but yeah, he's got like all this fancy technology. But yeah, to get some of the background on the Batman, I guess. The Bat Bruce Wayne is a character who was a son of a prominent businessman in the fictional city of Gotham, philanthropist and Dr. Thomas Wayne. When Bruce Wayne is like 10 or something, depending on when you're talking or what continuity you're talking about, his parents are killed, and he ends up going on a big quest to make himself into the best, to make himself into a superhero eventually. And
Hmm.
he eventually comes back sometime in his early 20s and tries to patrol Gotham and
Is
like
it
bring peace to the streets.
is it really ever stated in, I guess, like the original comic how Bruce Wayne's parents actually made their money, or is it all just like sci-fi, like
They
jibber
are
jabber?
the implication is they are old money.
Okay.
Yeah, like they like you do see occasional references like yeah, my family was like trading pelts with the First Nations back in the back in the 1780s or stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like we're talking about like people that were like prominent American industrialists for as long as there's been a presence of English presence on on the continent.
Okay,
Um,
so
yeah,
so it's colonial money essentially is
yeah,
what
and then
at
that
least where it started.
yeah, and then that
What
blows over into like a bunch of other stuff. He's just like bought into every sort of business you can possibly do.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, there's like technology branches, there's resource branches. He has different finances and other things. He's got like factories and stuff. Yeah, no, he's all over the place, but he's just like
So
yeah,
so not necessarily blood money, but also very much so
yeah.
blood money potentially.
Some of it is probably in there if you
Yeah.
look hard enough. Um
Well, that's kind of like
yeah,
I think the TV series Gotham was actually like had like them talking about like a sci-fi or like a science division and like a health
yeah,
division and stuff like that, but
yeah, yeah.
energy division,
It,
black
yeah,
money,
yeah.
black
Depending on
ops.
your continuity, they've even called like his company is generally called like something like Wayne Industries or Wayne Tech, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but yeah, and there's like a bunch of different. And he's generally got. It's implied that he has a bunch of employees. I feel like we don't always. They don't always like do enough with like Bruce Wayne's like physical holdings. They just sort of hand wave these rich.
Mm.
And yeah, it's just generally stated that he's got some sort of technology holdings and can make all these like fancy gadgets in whatever way that entails at the time.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Um
I was just wondering, like, maybe some of the earlier comics, like, didn't quite frankly catch up to like our modern day interpretation of like electricity or electronics,
um
so that they kind of just were like, hey, he invented like arc reactors, or like, his technology is kind of more advanced than ours in this continuity, or like
He's Batman's usually kept like a little bit ahead of what's normal.
okay.
They don't usually like. I mean, this has been thrown out the window a lot in the modern age.
Mhm.
But the original Batman comics are obviously 1940 is when he starts like really taking off. I think the original like Bat Detective Comics number 27 where he appears first is like 1939.
Okay.
Um so he's very much always existing in this age where there is electricity and technology. Um and
But what I'm saying is that they're not like Iron Manning it,
no,
essentially,
he's
where
never.
they're like, hey, he's made an arc reactor and put it in his chest, and now he's the Iron Man. Or
And like yeah, he's generally not like he's smart is what he's always things, but he's never like producing something that other people in the universe aren't producing. Like they're almost like Bruce Wayne his company is not generally portrayed, they're portrayed as like good. They're not generally portrayed as like being the best or like oodles beyond everyone else. Uh,
okay.
yeah, like you, other people can create bat suits in a way that like other people cannot create our Iron Man suits.
Well, that was the thing. I think one of the biggest arcs in Iron Man was the Iron Wars, was it not? Where they're like, hey, these are all these, as seen in, I think, Iron Man 2, where they're like, hey, we're gonna like build our own Iron Man suit and then try and sell it or whatever. And nobody could even get close to what Tony Stark had at that point in time. But we, I don't think I've ever seen something like that in the Batman series where there's like a, I wouldn't say like an evil Batman, but also I think there's also been evil Batman somewhere in the like 70 or 80-year run at this point, probably. So,
Yeah, there has been, but yeah, yeah, his technology is good. It's never seen as like the most advanced thing in the setting. It's always
mhm,
really like it's definitely none of it's market grade, or like he's well above market grade or whatever, but he's got like
yeah,
stuff that like maybe like a really advanced member of the military would have, sort of. Yeah, experimental stuff, but not necessarily stuff beyond the realm of possibility. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, and the question, I suppose, of whether you want to take away Batman's money is like there is a criticism of like is Batman doing and like is Batman doing Batman stuff the best way to like improve the situation in Gotham. And I will like people some people will bring up like, oh well, actually like Batman's like trustworthy and like he's got like best efficient art, and they might even bring up that like, oh yeah, he does do things to improve Gotham. But I think there are a couple things to consider. I do kind of like think that fashy authoritarian Batman is like a way to interpret the character and maybe do it in an interesting way. But those stories tend to fail for one of like two reasons, in my opinion. First of all, is just like the people are just doing it inadvertently and they're like actually like sort of being fascist propaganda in a way. And those are just like bad stories.
Yeah.
Where they're like very much just like doing this really brain dead idea that like, oh well, here's a really cool guy and he should be in charge of everything. And people tend, and that's just a weakness of the writing more than of the character or whatever. But other than that, but I think the other problem with like telling these stories is just like Batman's not powerful enough to be like a threat in the setting. Like the idea of like Batman becoming a villain that like the other members of the Justice League have to take on isn't super compelling in the long run.
Well, okay. So Wasn't that his whole character arc in like a whole bunch of uh Justice League settings was the fact that like Batman's the only one that has the means and the intelligence to like physically disable most of the Justice League though?
I mean, yeah, but at a certain point, like, in the storyline you're talking about, Tower of Babel,
Yeah.
um, the Ra's al Ghul, like, hacks into Batman's files and, like, steals his contingency plans to deal with
Okay.
them. Part of the reason why why that ended up being so dangerous is because all those things could go off at once, which isn't necessarily something we could say of Batman being able to do. Like, I think if the entire like, they've done actually fucking New 52 shit where they've, like, had Batman take across the other entire Justice League, and it's just a terrible I hate it. I just don't I think there's definitely a case to be like, Batman can do impressive stuff, but he shouldn't be able to take on the entire Justice League.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if that were something they were seriously trying to do, it would start straining credulity.
There was also a comic that I think like I don't read comics. Probably I don't read as much comics as you do. Definitely not. Um, haven't touched a comic book, so my understanding of the Batman universe is very limited. It's limited down to some of the Justice League stuff. Uh, the Schneider Batman, which sadly, let's be so fucking for real, I don't think Affleck could have taken on Superman regardless. Besides the whole like Martha bullshit, I think that legitimately saved him. Uh, what's his face is Batman?
Like the new one, or
Christopher Nolan.
oh, Christian Bale is
Yeah.
that guy. Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that's about it. Like, unless you really want to get weird with it, and then like some of the old Batman films, which
Yeah. Um
probably doesn't count much.
yeah, there's a certain point where, like, Batman being the bad guy, and like being a threat to, like, maybe you do something where, like, he takes over the League of Assassins, which has been played with occasionally. Like,
So
it
he
that's
becomes the new
yeah, he'd
Raj Al
become
Ghul.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they've done
Okay.
that. They've done, like, alternate universe stuff where they've done stuff like that, and that kind of works, but that kind of, like, puts him more of in, like, a Nick Fury position,
Hmm.
right? Which is something we brought up, that, like, could he just be like a Nick Fury? Like, does Batman's activities require him personally to be in charge of, like, all this uh like philanthropy and like operations and whatnot? And
What do
there's some
you
questions there. Yeah, go ahead.
what do you think about Nick Fury in I guess the overarching like
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same equivalency at this point in time. Like you've got this I'm not gonna say rich, but like very resource heavy. I wouldn't say super intelligent, but
Yeah,
super
clever.
crafty,
Yeah, super clever. Yeah.
clever.
Yeah. No, he's like, yeah, I mean, that's like like, it's an interesting thing to bring up, because, like, Batman, I think, is perfectly capable of being a Nick Fury like figure if he needed to be.
Hmm.
You could very easily slot him into, like, the put him in charge of, like, the FBI or the CIA or something. And
Yeah.
then I mean, not that that would, like, some of this, like, there's just some of these things that aren't going to happen, obviously, because, like, the continuity, because you need to be able to tell Batman stories. But they've also had, like, Batman Incorporated. I think that was a thing right before the New 52, where there was, like, an international ring of Batman. So, like, he can do that. I think it does work.
Also,
Uh,
so back to what I was talking about earlier, there was and sometimes I'll come across some like comic book clippings on a YouTube short with a narrator voice going over top of it. And there was a comic book that they were talking about with Penguin coming to see an old
mhm.
Batman, and he said, I've always known who you were, Bruce Wayne. The only reason why I didn't go out and tell everybody your whatchamacallit, your secret identity is because I thought that if you had to keep up the Bruce Wayne identity, that means you're only Batman for 50% of the time, rather than
Yeah.
if I outed your identity, you would become Batman 100% of the time. And I knew I couldn't keep up with 100% Batman, so I kept it to myself this whole time. And then I
Yeah.
think Batman straight up just murders him in the in this comic book.
I yeah, I mean, that's also like an interesting point. It's like, would Batman be better served doing this as like his full-time thing? I mean, to an extent he does, because Bruce Wayne is not generally like interpreted as being like in charge of the day-to-day operations of Wayne
Mhm.
Industries. Um, but like it makes you wonder, would he maybe be better served if he wasn't needing to worry about that off of the operations, and if like that was just being like provided to him by the government at some point. um
Also think that at one point in time, Batman, I don't think Batman could even keep up 100% of the time,
no.
because 95% of it is like, hey, like you see this old beaten Batman every once in a
Mhm.
while, like the actual physical uh whatchamacallit, like
Toll.
deterioration of yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
That's the word I was looking for, to toll that being Batman 100% of the time
Yeah.
like would cause on him. I think he would end up dying, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
There was an you ever hear of Phoenix Jones?
No.
He was like a guy who tried being like a real life vigilante, like superhero vigilante.
Mhm.
um and he basically did that story doesn't end well, but
Yeah.
because yeah, he ends up like I don't know who you'd pin on what. Anyway, not important. But he basically says like, yeah, you can't like do
Mhm.
you can't do this and do your day job. It's like too much. Like it's like he's like, yeah, I was in the hospital for exhaustion at one point. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like taking like some level of like superhero factor out of like just a normal man is kind of like Spider-Man gets away with it because he's got the healing and regenerative factors and stuff like that. And then there's like actual physical gods in the DC and like super Marvel universe, so like that kind of changes the picture. Iron Man's got his suit, so he's probably not doing a whole bunch of the heavy lifting, although like damage is still damage,
yeah,
you're still taking some
and
physical.
Tony Stark isn't like necessarily a crime fighter either. Like he's not active. Like Batman's dealing with like very different things than Tony Stark is. Batman's
Mhm.
trying to like deal with a very high crime rate area, like a very high crime rate city. Part of the problem, he's got like a big task on him. Um and there's also just like studies of just like, oh yeah, policing, there's just limits to what you can do with, because Batman is sort of being a cop, and there's like
Mhm.
limits to what you can do with just like law enforcement as a way to reduce crime. Reducing crime is usually like better mitigated by like dealing with like economic problems. You can do a lot with like after school programs and like yeah, and some yeah, that sort of thing. Like it's just there's a lot of non like police work that can do a lot to reduce crime rates, which of course when we get down to it, that Batman does do. And Batman is dealing with like a situation where there are like super criminals and you need a guy, which again, if you do sort of need a guy doing what Batman do to take care of like Mr. Freeze and whatnot. And then there's but I think when, as we're talking about like distributing it to like putting Batman in charge like under like a government entity, we got to point out that like I don't like Gotham is incredibly corrupt. Like the
Mhm.
police, yeah, the police state like the police departments in Gotham is especially like maybe not so much in like the 40s era of 40s and 50s eras of the thing, but ever since like as long as they've been allowed to portray police corruption in comics, they've been like Gotham PD has been like incredibly corrupt. Um,
Was that a thing that they weren't allowed to do in comic books, like, really early on that I'm not aware of? Like,
uh, I I'm not certain if that's a rule, but like it was
okay,
okay. So here's the thing: the Comics Code Authority is a bunch of fascists. Um,
okay,
yeah. So like
fair enough.
in the 40s, there was a guy. Oh, what's his? I'm forgetting his name, but Wortham, Frederick Wortham, who wrote a book in the 40s called Seduction of the Innocent. It's literally that stupid like that. But he was like, "Oh, comic books are making kids commit crimes and like uh, be homosexuals and stuff. So we need to
Oh,
like
Jesus.
put a bunch of
Li
rules in charge of so that like people can't." And it wasn't like a government operation; it was just like a private thing that all the major companies had to sign off to get into like the proper stores and whatnot. But yeah, he was I guess yeah, he was basically saying that like, oh, he put there were a bunch of rules where like you had to like you couldn't show like certain monsters and whatnot.
So, basically, video games are turning kids violence before
Yeah, they did
video
it for
games are turning.
movies. They did it for
Yeah,
video games.
okay.
It's yeah, this is the comics turn. Um, but I'm yeah, it might have been in there that you can't portray it was definitely in there that you had to like arrest like the guilty party at the end of each book,
Mhm.
something like that. Yeah, it was so like I'm not sure it said you couldn't portray crooked police officers, but there might have been something like you can't disrespect like government employees or something like that. It's pretty I have a whole thing about them. They're bastards. But they're that sadly they're not really like happily they're not really around anymore. Ha 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 ha. Ha. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, Gotham Police Department is horrendously corrupt. So like putting him in charge of and like even the courts and everything too by extension. But like putting Batman under the purview of that would be a very limiting factor. And so in that case, like there is like a argument to be made that a extra governmental um peacekeeping operate like a policing operation might be needed, and because you'd need to be working against the police to a certain point.
Wasn't that, like, the whole, like, story arc of, like, Harvey Dent in the original, like, Batman? Like, what would happen if we had just somebody out there that's, like, trying to put away criminals and, like, clean up, like, government corruption and, like, not necessarily have Batman be the answer to every single issue,
Yeah,
like.
more or less. Like, yeah, that's what Harvey Dent's story. It's definitely what storyline has become. Where like it was, maybe I don't know if it was like a concerted effort on the part of like the three of them in the original appearances of Two Face, but it has become like the backstory where like there was a collusion between Harvey Dent, who had been elected like assistant DA or a DA or something like that, and then commissioner and like Gordon, who had been slowly promoted to commissioner, and the Batman to sort of team up to sort of like fight corruption in like Gotham. And that's sort of why Harvey Dent gets acid thrown in his face and becomes Two Face, is because they're trying to like the criminal element is trying to put a stop to that.
Mhm.
So like working, yeah, in that light, working for at least the municipal government isn't like a practical thing to do at this point. It would be more of a hindrance. And my suspicion has always been that like Arkham Asylum, the place that all the criminals have been getting out of, has been like subtly undermined by out of state like lobbyists and whatnot to like keep Batman busy or whatever. Because it's like it's hard to believe they're allowed to be that incompetent.
Mhm.
Yeah, or like this place like maintains its contract at a certain
I
point.
think, one of the, storylines in, uh, the Gotham TV series was
Yeah,
the idea that,
yeah,
there was Blackwing. It was the site of,
Black Gate.
like,
Yeah.
Blackgate, which, basically or Pine Grove, which
Oh,
was
okay.
basically, Wayne Enterprise black site that was working on, human experimentation that eventually was shut down by the Wayne Enterprise, but it was definitely being funded originally by Wayne Enterprise to do, like, genetic testings and stuff like that,
And it's
probably
also
easier.
there's some other ways they've played with that before. Like they put like Hugo Strange, a villain, in charge of it a few times.
Mhm,
Um, they Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, has been present as an employee of Arkham Asylum at points. Uh, Harley Quinn, but that's more of like an incompetence issue than an open malicious issue. But yeah, there is this issue of whether like the government in this case not being able to be trusted with these resources. Um that Batman comes into. And in this system that is as corrupted as it is, the government trying to take over the Batman's operation could be seen as like a villainous thing, as like a way to hamper his activities. Um,
okay.
yeah, that's just a angle we can talk about. But then also, but like, forgoing that for just a second, um, there is something to be said of how like the big difference between like this episode and the Scrooge McDuck episode is that I don't think Scrooge McDuck can be said to have been trying to what's the word I'm looking for, um pres- like what's the word I'm looking for, wield power over the like over his municipality in the way that Bruce Wayne is. Because
Mhm,
Bruce Wayne, like, say it's probably for the best in this, and like in because we trust Batman because it's a character in a book. He's not like a real person, but there is a element where like Batman is trying to control the way the city is run, which is something which in real life has been incredibly problematic. And there is something to be said of like, should we be portray like doing this sort of steel manning of how how philanthropy works. Rich guys do kind of like come into situations, and sometimes because they're rich they'll figure they know better than everyone else, and even if they like, on one end, no, they probably aren't they a lot of rich people tend to try to exercise expertise in areas they do not really have expertise. And also, even if they are that level of experts, they don't, I think it's hard to say that they really have a right to be in charge of these things in the way they want to be. And there's even the more sinister aspect of like, are they just saying some of these things as a way of exercising control? They're like doing some mild ineffectual charity work in order to pad their own resumes, so that they can say like, oh look, I'm doing this good thing, you can trust me with more political capital.
sure.
And there is something to be said for that. And like, even if Bruce Wayne is doing the good version of this, is this something we should be allowing on principle? And there's a good case for no.
Just a thought process I don't think I've had before. I think we talked about this in the original, I think Batman v Superman episode of
Okay, yep.
the political sci-fi, but Gotham in the real world is like based out of what?
Um, it's vague.
Yeah.
Like it depends on who. Uh, some people like it's just whatever the writer feels at the time. They've put it like on the East Coast. I think it's generally assumed to be on the East Coast somewhere. Gotham
Yeah.
is actually like an old nickname for New York.
Okay. So it's not like Cincinnati, Ohio, or like
No,
some small
like I've seen people like, oh, it's
main
kind of.
town or
I've seen people say it's like, oh, it's kind of Chicago. It's
yeah,
kind because of the mob stuff and like how Chicago struggles with stuff. I've
yeah,
seen, I did see, I've seen like people like I kind of like playing around with the idea occasionally of like the what state Batman should. I think you can make like Gotham into a bunch of American cities if you want to.
yeah.
Um, I think
Staten Island Batman.
yeah, Detroit would be an interesting one just because like I can see because part of that's problems just comes from like economic things and like but that doesn't
Mhm.
pan out with some things. I kind of don't mind the idea. I mean, there's some like maybe some New Orleans in there.
Yeah.
He does fight a crocodile, man.
Yes. Florida.
Yeah, yeah. They have crocodiles in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's sometimes it's like portrayed as like across the like the bay from Metropolis,
Hmm.
which would make it more like a New Jersey to Metropolis is in New York or Jersey City. I don't know how that part of the country works.
My geography is not great.
I also
But once
we
again, I'm
yeah
Canadian, so like
yeah
me understanding half of this is like, oh, I know vaguely where things are,
we're
but
also like rural Canadians,
yeah.
so like the idea of like however big New York is kind of like confuses and bewilders me on a certain level. Fucking Mega City 1.
So like we have to remember like 13 provinces and territories, and you guys have to remember
Yeah.
52 states, not including like
Well,
the
it's yeah.
unrecognized states
It
like
isn't
Washington DC or
yeah. It's an even
M-
50 with like a bunch of, with like a fistful of like
Guam,
territories and like districts. Puerto Rico,
yeah,
um American Samoa.
Alaska.
No, Alaska's a state.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Alaska's a state, but it's based off of Canada, so when you're actually looking at a map, it doesn't actually exist where it's
Yeah.
meant to
Yeah.
exist. Like, just like I have to remember that like there's more to the world than the maps depict in Canadian history because it never shows Alaska, even though Alaska's definitely within Canada. Like you can hit Canada through.
We don't recognize the okay, sorry, I'm gonna make a joke here. Um
It's always a fun joke when you
yeah.
have to Google it first.
We don't uh accept the legitimacy of the 1898 arbitration on the border between British Columbia and Alaska. We believe that there actually should be like several gaps in the coastline there where like Canadian ships can go onto that part of the coastline. Uh, there should not be like a continuous landmass going along the going uh, going down the west coast of North America. We there should be it should be like an uncontinuous landmass. It instead of a panhandle as it is. The Britain screwed us. Uh, this is all the Hay Herbert Treaty. We don't recognize the legitimacy of. this is British failure has sort of backstabbed us, and yeah, this is terrible. This is, no one understands what I'm talking about.
Not a clue.
Yeah. uh okay, anyway, yeah, I think, yeah, there is a good thing to be said that, like, in general we shouldn't be letting rich people control how the public good is handled. That is what
Which
it
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
also like boils down to like I think another big aspect that we haven't really talked about in this episode is how in the fuck did they hire a known criminal to be the mayor of Gotham City?
Which
Like,
time?
why would we let somebody with a criminal record into that level of office ever?
Yeah, several times.
Sure.
uh I don't know, who are the mayors of Gotham? I don't know.
For the longest time, it was Oswald Cobblepot, was it
Oh
not?
yeah, I think he was for a bit. I don't know if it's.
He was like the Penguin was the mayor of Gotham, and he's
I mean,
like
okay,
always
okay,
been portrayed as like fairly evil.
okay. List of mayors of Gotham City. They're, oh, so like there was actually, like, I think Cobblepot's Penguin's great grandfather was also a mayor of Gotham at one point.
Hmm.
Trying to remember. I think the first time we see a mayor in Gotham, he's apparently made to look like LaGuardia, like Mayor LaGuardia of New York, who's one of the big ones there. I'm just seeing how many of these people I know. Mayor Thorndyke. Yeah, there's like a Hamilton Hill, who's like a stooge of one of the mob bosses.
There was an episode, a story arc in Gotham that was um like an old blood tied between this old family and Bruce Wayne's like great
Yeah.
ancestors, that this guy came back to swear revenge on basically Bruce Wayne and his
Mhm.
family because like his family killed one of their families, yada yada yada. And the guy in that series comes back and he runs for mayor of Gotham City, and like a young Bruce Wayne has to stop him essentially. And now I'm trying to remember what his name was.
Yeah, Thomas Wayne has oh, no, 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 never mind. I think he was running for mayor in the Joker movie, actually.
Which is honestly really funny because they had this guy in the original Gotham series that looks like a really it was Theo Galavan in the Gotham series. Now that I remember his name, but they also had this guy named Aubrey James, and I think his character looks astonishingly like Richard Nixon. So it's just kind of funny that like the first guy just looked
Yeah, Penguin was mayor in the Young Justice TV show. A guy they like to use apparently is Hamilton Hill is a pretty common mayor. They like to adapt. There's a handful of other guys. No, yeah, there's not really like a big like super villain mayor of Gotham. Not like New York has had in Marvel comics lately, because like Kingpin's been mayor. Uh,
mhm.
yeah, yeah. J. Jonah Jameson was mayor in that one time. But yeah, anyway, there's also should be said that, like, so like there's a interpretation of the Dark Knight, the movie, the Christopher Nolan movie, where like in that movie where like Batman has to make like a little surveillance state for a bit. And is brought up several times in that movie as just like, is Batman kind of a dictator in like the traditional Roman sense? Because there was a concept in Republican Rome where in times of trouble they'd elect one guy to be in charge of Rome so he could act unilaterally, and that guy would it would give the power away when he was done. And eventually Julius Caesar happens to get this power, and then he doesn't give it back. So that's just that's the thing they're bringing up. It's also like people are bringing it up as like an allegory for like the war on terror, which it's an interesting question. Is like, if the thing you're taking away from this is like, yeah, Batman's like a guy of moral character, he can be trusted. That's fair enough. We're like endorsing the platonic ideal of Batman. We're like, oh yeah, Batman's like a big hero who's trying to help everyone. But if you're trying to interpret that as like an actual endorsement of the war of George Bush's tactics on the war on terror, you'd be making a really dumb point. Which is the point I'm trying to make here is like, Batman's not like Batman's a character that we like. It's not necessarily his actions are not something that we necessarily you should be using to inform your political decision making. So like, yeah, Batman, like, yeah, you wouldn't let a guy like Batman do these things. We're only hesitating with this question because we're like big fans of Batman, and we believe in the character. We believe in the idea, not so much like that this is literally how things should work.
Mhm.
Because those are not one and the same. Uh, which I think we brought this up in the Scrooge McDuck episode, but yeah.
Do you think we would like definitely there should be something done with the wealth that we strip Batman of? Like,
Oh
what
yeah.
what do you think we should be doing with it?
I think I kind of like the idea of what we said earlier of like making him like putting him in, like, if you wanted to put him in charge of the Gotham Police Department,
Mhm.
sort of like, I think because again we trust Batman because he's a fictional character who we know to be of standing a good moral standing because we read the comics and watch the movies. We see his like we see all his actions, which is not something we have of any real person.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing with fictional characters, you can be incredibly certain of their moral character in a way that you cannot be of a like a real person. And when you treat real people as if you are certain of their moral character, that can backfire on you fairly easily. What do you think? Do you have any ideas? Here, what are we on?
Uh, fix the Arkham Asylum project
Yeah,
in general.
yeah, I'm still kind of like of the opinion that like Arkham's being like purposely sabotaged on some level. Um
Yeah.
yeah, like I think that's a storyline we should do of like people of like they're sabotaging Arkham to like keep the and there has been some of that, but like not as like a concerted plot of like someone like Lex Luthor or something. But it should also be pointed out that like in the things that Batman is doing good, because this is of the nature of comic books and the need to keep them going forever, he can never like too thoroughly succeed at his goals. Like there
Mhm.
needs to be a book every week. I think we do. I think we should occasionally tell stories where Batman fixes everything, but it's like I had a was talking about the Joker the other day, and like why haven't they just, and someone was asking like, oh, why haven't they killed the Joker, and I'm like, well, people are on death row for upwards of a decade most situations, um and Batman's been operating for maybe about that long. So like assuming everything goes right, and like there's no like road bumps on the way, Joker might be dead by the time Tim Drake becomes Robin. Maybe. So like the idea of like Joker being perpetually on death row is not a particularly silly thing. If we wanted to tell the story of Batman being in his 50s, then yeah, you kind of do have to answer the question of like what has Joker been killed. But yeah, these are plot elements that cannot be resolved because of the way the comics are made. He cannot
Mhm.
solve the issue of crimes in Gotham. You do occasionally get these there's a comic where the Justice League meets Justice League from the year 1 million, and Batman meets a future Batman, and Bruce is just like, oh God, I can't believe Gotham still needs a Batman after all this time, and the guys in future Batman's just like, oh no, Gotham's been like Gotham's the shit now. Gotham in my time makes Metropolis look like a toilet. But no, I do stuff in other places, remembering your memory. So like, there are options where like, oh yeah, Batman solves everything.
And then, of course, just the normal run of the mill stuff. Fix the schools, fix the roads, maybe stop polluting fucking copious amounts of like bad shit into the environment because you're a mega
Yeah,
conglomerate.
I've this is
Maybe stop trying to like genetically alter humanity and like
I I've been saying it. I've been saying it for a little while, but they should make Poison Ivy an eco-terrorist hero in the modern day. Because
well, there was the meme way back in the day that like was sitting there talking about like how badly Batman's actually the villain and that we're rooting for this billionaire to like uh keep the status quo by stopping like Poison Ivy who's just trying to like save the world from like global warming. Same with Iceman,
Mr.
Mr.
Freeze,
Freeze.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will point out that I think that like Poison Ivy being an eco-terrorist is a bit more of a modern thing. Because I think when
Mhm.
she debuted, global warming wasn't like a political talking point. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, when I mean, there's still some of it because their idea of pollution is more like grime in the water supply and like trash lying around uh
Mhm.
back in those days. But no, I think you should make Poison Ivy a hero like we made Magneto a hero, because
Sure.
there's some valid points being made.
Mhm.
That's in the ideas that like uh Poison Ivy is not just a jewel thief in some continuities, which she is, but
Well, I mean, same with the Catwoman. Like Catwoman doesn't really like besides being like the on and off lover of Bruce Wayne, she's normally just mitigated to
yeah, yeah,
like B-list side hero.
yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying they're all fucking like capable of having these like very well thought out overarching storylines because like let's be real, like they're kind of limited to the genre, but
And there is something to be said of like, okay, we can only expect so much of some of these authors. Like,
mhm,
let's be honest, they aren't all of quality.
yeah.
There are lots of bad Batman stories. No one remembers them, but they are there.
I think there was another meme that I remember reading was like it was really brave of Christopher Nolan to do like generalized better version of the 1960s Batman movie because in that movie uh he definitely does rip off the plot line where Batman takes a bomb out to the middle of the ocean so it doesn't like blow up a pier or something. So and of course it was Adam West's Batman, so it was very I don't know, campy. Like it was like actually a physical like round bomb with a fuse on it type ordeal. Like
And I will say, like, I think our arguments against Batman being a thing hold up a lot better in like the 40s like the 50s version of Batman, because it's not that bad. There's just a bunch of like random super criminals running around. You don't really need a like you could just be lending your services to the police to go handle these people every now and then.
Or like I want to see the Batman PR campaign. Like, oh yeah, I've been beating up bad guys, but I also do like library readings or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Batman's trying to like change his public image of just like maiming like I don't know robbers, I guess. Like people just out there like trying to murder or not murder but like feed their family through like stealing sneakers or something.
This is remembering there's a comic book, there's a comic and they made it into a movie, Justice League the New Frontier, where
Uh-huh.
they explain why originally he has the black and gray suit and he turned into like a blue and gray suit we know from the 50s.
Uh-huh.
And basically why he does that is there's a scene in it where Batman's trying to save a kid from a burning building and the kid's all scared. So Batman decides to make his costume more colorful because he's in it to scare criminals, not children, and it's just not worth it to have the really scary costume.
Fair.
Yeah. And like at the end of the day, these are challenges for like the writers to address if they have the will and desire to. But
Mhm.
it's also challenges the writers can fail at.
Yeah, and I mean there's no law on the books currently that says that well, of course, there's, like, some level of laws on the books that says, like, Elon Musk couldn't, run around and beat up criminals at this point in time, but as long as he's wearing a mask and we don't know it's Elon Musk, like, you know.
I know if Phoenix Jones is anything to go by, they get you on like anti-gang color laws and like make you a like unmasked in public and like get you cost you your
Yeah, but
job.
the problem with that is people are gonna look at that and be like, "Well, why is the government trying to stop vigilante justice rather than just, like, getting behind Phoenix Jones for doing their job?" Like, we're at a point where, like, the tinfoil hat people are gonna come out of the woodworks and, like,
Oh yeah,
start
no, and I
start
would
being like,
definitely argue that like that's just kind of the cops being dicks, um, to an extent. Uh, like I mean, there's an argument that you don't like Phoenix Jones especially wasn't like a qualified individual to be. He never really. I don't know that he ever really did anything that got like again they got him on like a gang. They got him on like a gang crime thing because he was wearing like gang colors in like heavy quotes.
mhm.
So yeah,
It's
again,
like
yeah, that's not a happy story, but yeah.
I guess the only real, like, comic book, like, conversation that could be had at this point in time for, like, people who aren't superpowered running superpowers is, like, The Watchmen,
A
where
bit.
they're just like, "Hey, we need to regulate these superheroes that are just running around," like.
Yeah, and I think like at a certain point, like this also needs to be said. If you put yeah, again, we trust Batman, but as a matter of principle, like if you make superhero cops, they're still going
Mhm.
to be cops, and all the problems with cops will bleed into the superhero stuff,
Yeah.
which is some problems we saw in the 90s, which is why no one likes 90s comics. But yeah, because you'll get super powered individuals doing the same dumb shit that dumb cops do on the occasions they do dumb shit.
Which is also, like, one of the major plot points of The Boys, I guess.
Yeah, that's also Watchmen.
Speaking of something that just, like, ended up finishing here, so.
But no, yeah, if you have government like as a general rule, if you end up with government sponsored heroes, you're going to end up with the down, like, this is something they've always brought up to these. They're going to like be as flawed as the regular people.
Hmm.
Now, I think there's some interesting stuff you can tell with that stories of like there's some interesting dynamics of what of like it's one thing when like there's a good cop fighting against a corrupt system. It's a little bit of a different story when that good cop fighting a corrupt system is like bulletproof. There's some
Yeah,
things that don't like, yeah, we very much do, there's different dynamics. We're not really here to answer the question in a lot of ways because I mean, we still kind of want there to be Batman stories,
sure.
in ways, but yeah, we're just, yeah, it's more just like we're talking about it. We've drawn some conclusions, but yeah. Uh, any final points?
No, I guess there was like the conversation that there was like of putting Batman in the chair of like Commissioner Gordon, but I think Batman's always had somebody in his chair for him, right? Like he's always had Alfred, or he's always had I think Batgirl for a
Yeah,
really long
Oracle.
time
Yeah, it's not
became
always,
Oracle.
but it's been
It's
for a
like
most of his career, most of the history of
I
this.
think the Injustice stuff had put Harley Quinn
Yeah,
as like the new Oracle for a while there, and I think rather Injustice or one of the cooler Batman stories, but
yeah, but yeah, no, yeah, there's something to be said about that, of him just being put in charge of stuff. But I mean, I think he'd be able to do as much good as a guy in those positions could possibly do, but more than what a lot of people do now. But yeah.
mhm.
But yeah, I think we're done for now. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think of this subject in the comment section or in different areas. Share around. Remember to you can buy my book, The Pennsylvanian, at most major online retailers. Uh, yeah, that's
I think
so.
my copy finally hit the mail.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. No, yeah, I finally got my ass in gear and sent you a copy.
Well,
Yeah,
I think if you're waiting on a copy, you gotta remember. I don't think maybe Kyle has some form of distribution system, but I think a lot of it is him dropping stuff off in the mail right now and
you can
sending it.
order
So,
them directly from like Amazon
oh,
or
okay.
whatever. But
So from there,
I sent you from the copies that I have on me.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just you mailing out every single copy
No,
that you've
no.
had to.
Yeah, we'll see you sometime later. I don't know what we're doing next.